I'm Kimberly. I like poetry. I'm really into music. It helps me get away from the outside world. My mom had passed away when I was 10 years old. My father had custody of us, and he chose his girlfriend over me and my little sister and just up and left us in an apartment and never came back for weeks at a time. Our electricity went off, and that's when the lady who lived upstairs decided this was a prime opportunity for her. That's actually how it happened. I went to her. That's how it happened. I went to her and told her my electricity had been cut off, and me and my little sister didn't have no lights downstairs. And the lady told me, hey, if I do this, me and my little sister will never get separated. We'll have everything we need. We won't lose our place. And so I felt like what I was doing was to support my family, and it was an okay thing to do, not really understanding that it really wasn't.
I was just a typical young girl that liked to play with Barbies, play basketball, and I ran track. Church too, I went to church, sung in a choir. Had 2 other siblings. I was the only girl.
Black version.
I wouldn't be who I am without Caitlin, because Caitlin brings the girly out of me, and she makes me feel like I'm furious, like I can get whatever I need to done.
It was my sophomore year in high school. Me and my parents had an altercation. I had left. I decided to leave. I ran across some different type of people that I never thought they were. I thought they were friends. I met the girl at school. I thought she was my friend. That's when my life changed. I met the young lady. She introduced me to a pimp, and then eventually he introduced me to one of his friends.
To see someone that you love, someone that you call your sister, could go from just being this bubbly young lady, we're going places and we're happy and the relationship is different between our parents, to now she's not really around her parents, she's going out of town.
Remember, I had them all those bad guys on paper plates so we could show those to the street.
My son died on September 30th, 2016. He is a boy who was trafficked, but I also want you to remember that he was a beautiful young man.
He was super funny and outgoing. He loved art. He was super good at art.
Between his drawing and his writings, he really has quite a talent. I was in a verbally abusive marriage. My husband was an alcoholic. When I left him, it was good for the family to remove ourselves from that situation. Jeffrey was probably 4th or 5th grade. Jeffrey was teased, picked on a lot through middle school. He was just trying to figure out where he fit in, and to try to find his place.
I knew right away that he was doing drugs. He just got into the wrong group of kids. They strive so hard to fit into those groups, and when nobody gives them attention, they're going to sink for those friends that do give them attention.
There was a point in childhood that my parents divorced, so then my mom was a single mom, because my dad was just kind of not really in the picture. I was probably 15 when we moved here. So when I came up here to the schools, the transition, it was a hard transition. So I had dropped out at that time, and I did end up pregnant. Within the first few conversations, he was all about my life, and I opened up to him about it because, at the time I did not have very many people that I was in contact with anymore. And then, within a few weeks, it turned more into a sexual relationship. That went on for, a week or two before he brought up, trafficking me.
He took me to Grand Island, Nebraska. By then I'm like 16. He exploited me. I was working at a club called Larry's, and at that time they allowed young girls to come dance as long as they had an ID. He supplied everything I needed. The ID, the fake social security number, the clothes, the whole 9 yards for me to go work at the club.
She eventually said, "Best friend, I'm stripping." And for me it was like, what? Like, why? And she's like, "I can't get any money."
The first time he exploited me, I didn't know what to do. I was just looking at the man like, I can't do this. And once I didn't, there was consequences afterwards.
At that point, I'd already been in it too long, and I was on the run from foster homes and group homes and wound up in a whole nother situation, and this time it was with an older gentleman. At first, he pretended I was something special compared to these other girls he had around, but really I was just the next person being manipulated. That was when I realized it was something different when I watched him beat girls, and then he started to beat me. When the abuse started happening and realizing that I was looking for love and that's not really what it was. That's when I realized it was the wrong thing.
Kind of his way of making money while he was on the road was either to sell drugs or to dance in clubs. So he was dancing in a club in Madison, and a man was outside of the club, and he said, I know that you're a minor, and I can help you out, and you can make a lot more money than what you're making right now, and I'll take care of everything you need. And of course Jeffrey's gonna say yes. He was down on his luck, he was living on his own, really not having much, and so he went.
At the time, I actually was living in a hotel. I was broke down in the car, I was crying, and I'm like, just being in that one room was just so congested. I just started crying, and he's like, I can help you, do you trust me? I can introduce you to something that, can change your life. You can get the house and get everything situated.
He told us that he was drugged up so much that he lost all concept of time. He recalls having sex with 10 women and being beat up at least twice during that time period that he was captive with them.
And you could tell that he wanted help. He wanted to be home. It's hard for me because I wish I could take his pain away, but I couldn't.